Hi. So, I would like to talk about my living and my life as it has developed over the years. For a long time, and as far back as I can remember, there have been this nagging feeling within me of something being unsettled. There has always been something that I've been lacking, you might say. There have been some wrongs, you might say, in life as I saw it, as I experienced it, as I lived it. Okay? So basically, I've been searching near and far, very much far, you might say, for solutions to my issues, to my challenges, to my emotions, to my memories, to my questions, to my thinking, and so on. I've been searching for answers and, what shall I say, solutions to my life and life's, what shall I say, greater questions like, why are we here? Um, what is my individual purpose in this life? Um, why is there so much illness and abuse and ego in this world? Why do we have the system that we have, obviously, with the individual minds, and so on, and so on, and so on. So for me, um, landing in, what shall I say, after a long escape through all sorts of drug addiction and energy addictions, um, where I found uh, responsibility within myself to really start to um, work on myself, to give myself that worth, that value that I felt deeply, deeply within was lacking. And so that would be um, how I started to work with, at that point, demonology, a branch, you might say, of the group called desteni.org. Destiny.org, a unique, and I mean unique and genuine group of people dedicated to find out what are the solutions that are best for all. And within so the principles of oneness and equality. Oneness and equality. Like this new shirt that I ordered this summer. Oneness and equality, team life. So that's a story about that. But anyways, landing in 2012, winter between 11 and 12, January, February, starting to work on my process. And, I had been since 2003 being diagnosed with schizophrenia. And even though I was diagnosed with schizophrenia, there was not a, there was no doctors that could tell me and give me or anywhere else I would search that could give me a clear-cut answer to what is schizophrenia. Why do some people have schizophrenia? There was not one doctor that could explain to me, or anybody else for that matter, that could explain to me what is schizophrenia, what goes on in the schizophrenic mind, the background, behind the curtain, behind the obvious, behind the symptoms. What is schizophrenia? To find that out, to figure that out, I found reason and trust and sanity and responsibility within myself um, with a group called desteni.org. and working my way, starting to work my way through learning to write mind constructs, working out these constructs in my mind to sort of hack my mind and to sort of start to take ownership of my own mind, you might say. Um, so I would start to see, to realize, understand how humanity has been enslaved by a mind consciousness system. Obviously, if you watch the original Matrix movie, the movie goes a long way to explain that humanity is slave to mind consciousness system. So bear in mind when you hear people talking about the expanded consciousness and the evolved consciousness, which is all just consciousness when everything comes to matter. What we need to find is to move a movement from consciousness, from the thinking mind bubble, imaginative, to awareness, to the physical, to the sanity, to the breath, to the physical substance, flesh of self. So we need that change from the metaphysic, mind and thought and imaginary, to the physical, and to maneuver myself from that metaphysical to a physical stand. I started to work on mind constructs and with self-forgiveness, which is a unique tool to use to work on self, to figure out self, to get an overview on self, to learn to know self. Self-forgiveness is the best tool that I have yet to discover, that I have discovered. How do we say that? So basically, today, my life have, what shall I say? I used to be a suffering schizophrenic, alcoholic, semi-drug addict, addicted to energies and, what shall I say, fun rides and sabotage of systems, basically. Realizing today that all those systems were about myself, all those systems happen to be myself and my consequence, you might say. And today I'm just so grateful that there is such a thing as destiny, with a portal. I mean, if you are new to the word portal and you want to investigate and to check out what the portal is, I can give you some few links. You can check it out for yourself. You can see what it is. I mean, it was a point of no return for me in a very, very, very good way, you might say. A point of no return for me in a fundamentally good way. It was like, okay, now I can see through the dimensions with help from the portal. I can see through the dimensions and I can see what's on the other side of this, you might say. And from such awareness, from such learning, from acraft.com, from desteni.org, from destonians.com, I have come to really investigate self-responsibility, self-trust, self-integrity, self-honesty. What is self-honesty to you? So basically, today living a, what should I say, more fulfilled life. Today it's October. There is sunshine outside. We're having a spring day in October. The weather systems are obviously changing. So I've had a bath in the fjord. It was a delicious little dip in the ocean. I enjoyed it through and through. And talking to the sheep here and feeding them branches. Uh, Also today I've been baking bread and making dinner for uh, 6 people, and just having a much more quality life, living more full, you might say, thanks to my walking with the tools provided by desteni.org, the Destiny I process. I have been able to walk through the burden, through the pain, through the emotions, through the trauma, through the drama of my past into sanity, into self-awareness. And I used to be a suffering, addicted, sick, and deprived, and angry uh, young man. Of course, that was not all that I was. I had good times as well. There were times that were fun and all that. But what shall I say? My starting point was ruined. My starting point and my definitions were of life was skewed and corrupted and addicted. I was in addiction basically, and I was in sabotage, an uproar, and basically having 100 million questions that were nowhere to be found, obviously. Why do we have a mind, for instance? Why are we here on Earth? What is this universe really, really all about? And those 3 questions, for instance, why do we have a mind? What are we doing here on Earth? What is the universe really, really about? Those 3 questions, I have found a definitive and very satisfying and good answer to myself from walking with destiny in oneness and equality. So you might say, since the portal opened, there have been, there are so many changes in the metaphysical reality of this earth, of this universe, of this world, that is now more and more moving, and that is why we walk the destiny process here on earth instead of in the afterlife. Because here on earth, in this life, we have a better chance of correcting self, of changing self here in this life. Here in this life is where the work needs to be done to make this into heaven on earth, a good place for all. Because in the afterlife, there are obvious limitations to our process individually, for all of us. So whether you like it or not, we are all more or less walking a process now, and I can deeply and full-heartedly recommend a process of self-forgiveness, to really embrace self unconditionally and walk a process of forgiving and getting an overview and be able to change the patterns and emotional aspects of self that you go through, that are bothersome, that are painful, that are abusive, that are not good, that we all have experienced in our living. So that in that sense we are all of us more or less mentally ill, and yeah. So this is a great thank you Destiny, thank you Team Live, thank you Tormod for walking this process so thoroughly and working with yourself and redefining yourself and finding sanity and groundedness and honesty and all that in your life, and being able today to say that my life today is just endlessly much better than it was a decade ago, and that, like I say, it's a point of no return in a very, very, very good way. So, mm, yeah, that is some snippets I wanted to share. If you have questions about this, feel free to ask me questions. Um, um, so, I've been working with schizophrenia in my process, and schizophrenia is to me when there are two or three personalities that are active at once within my mind, within my being. When there are two or three personalities that are active at once within my mind, within my being. These two to three personalities are then having a war of dominance of my being, of my body. When there's two to three personalities that are actively fighting and having a war within me to be in dominance of my being, of my body, of myself. This resulting in voices in the head, hallucinations, pain, conspiracy thinking, thinking that people are spying on me, and all sorts of such things, and thinking. And also, it's the schizophrenia, the splitting of mind. Schizophrenia somehow means the splitting of one's mind. So basically, my schizophrenia have worked the way that my mind has split itself into new mind units, ice boxes, new mind unit boxes, units, minds. My mind has projected itself into new mind units, like a cancer cell, you might say. So that I have to deal with 3 or 4 minds at once. This together with the personalities having a war of dominance within me. So that with looking at this back curtain, this ground picture, you might say, of the personalities that are fighting and the minds that are shifting, it makes reality very, very broken. Reality ends up very, very fragmented and broken and beaten and inferiorized and lonely and scared and all that. Reality can shift like that in a snap of a finger, from one conscious construct to another conscious construct for the schizophrenic suffering being. So that is something what I've experienced, and something that I have been able to rise up from and say that enough. I will work through all these moments, all these details, all these energies with self-forgiveness, with learning to mastering my own energies, my own physicality, and basically being phoenix from the flames and rise up and be standing as life support for what is best for all, oneness and equality, to create this place into a good place for all beings. That is why I'm here. So, yeah, this is a snippet of some of my past, some of my, process, and my being today. So, thank you for listening, and Feel free to ask questions. If you have questions, you want to see some examples from aircraft or something, let me know, and enjoy.